Hi everyone, welcome back to the Pot Smoker's Bible. My name is Zion. I'm the author of the Pot Smoker's Bible, which contains the prophetic book of Zion, where I get my name and authority. It comes from the Ketuvim, or Old Testament of the Christian Bible. I used the King James Version of the Christian Bible to put together the prophecy of Israel from the scattered bits and pieces of prophecy, and it became the book of Zion. It left me instructions as to how to fulfill prophecy and bring God back into humans' sphere of influence. And by God, I mean gray, okay? I want you all to know that right from the start. I'm not talking about a human kind of God. I'm talking about the aliens that are flying around in UFOs. That's my God. I'm a priest of that God. They speak to me telepathically. And they sent us through time, a prophecy that foretells the events of 2020. And those events are the events that I foretold in this book. The book that I finished in February, by the way. I finished the book of Zion, or I finished the Pot Smoker's Bible in February. I finished the book of Zion while I was in prison, fulfilling the second to last stipulation of the prophecy. I was given a set of instructions, things that I had to do in order to win the title of Zion. And I did them. In fact, if you're watching me right now, yeah, I did them because this is the last thing on my to-do list to tell you what this book says. And this book comes directly from this one. So, if you don't believe me, go to Psalms. Read from Psalms to the end of the Old Testament. And everything that I'm telling you in this, you'll find in this. Proof that I'm not full of shit. Contrary to popular belief. So anyway, today I'm reading from the 17th chapter of the Pot Smoker's Bible, which is the commentary to the Book of Zion, and required for publication. And it contains the 14th chapter of the Book of Zion, which is called My People's Transgressions. I was reading from Hosea 4, 1 to 9. And I'm going to take up where I left off. Our wicked ways have come back to haunt us. Our society is guilty of many things, especially lying, swearing, killing, stealing, and committing adultery. These are all very evident in our society, especially in regards to President Donald J. Trump, who is being investigated for impeachment. He embodies all of these evil traits. The Gray are going to do to society what the House of Reps is doing to Trump. They break out, and blood touches blood. This can mean medicinal problems like AIDS or pandemic viruses like COVID-19. I'm putting that in because it wasn't there before. We could also indicate transfusions, or as already discussed, junkies sharing needles. But no matter how you call it, blood touches blood. We have blood touching blood, and there are more than a few outbreaks of disease in our recent history, i.e., I have to inject here COVID-19 because this was written last fall. Hosea is telling us about the effects of climate change on our planet in verse 3. The lots of wildlife and fish in the sea are clearly foreseen by the ancient Gray. But we are told in the next verse not to start blaming each other because it's not going to accomplish anything. It's like blaming a priest for an unanswered prayer. Who takes the blame doesn't matter because climate change is going to destroy this society as a whole. Verse 5 says that the gray will destroy the false religions that allow the destruction to come about anyway. The priests and the prophets and the Holy Mother will be proven false and rejected by all but the most ardent believers. The appearance of Zion and her fulfillment of prophecy will prove all other testimonies to be invalid. The next two verses tell us that the reason the people of Zion are destroyed because of our ignorance. Because we individually reject God, we refuse to even look at the Torah. Unless, of course, we were doing it from a Christian or Jewish standpoint. We don't have a clue that the Bible foretells who and what we are. We lack the required biblical narrative. That is why my people suffer so much in this society. From police brutality. We needed to read the Bible, but we didn't. Not in the proper way. Each generation of Zion since our creation has degraded because of we reflect our human traits. We don't know that we have other more powerful traits to follow. Our lack of knowledge has led us down a regressive path. Knowledge is power. We are powerless because we don't know what the Bible has to teach us about ourselves. The Grey have decided from ancient times that as long as the people of Zion remain ignorant of their true heritage, the Grey would treat the entire population as human. They show no mercy to us. We will not be treated as gray until we choose to become gray. We need to become aware of our gray connection. That has been the plan all along. Until we read the prophecy, we are to remain at the mercy of the humans that oppress us. The Grey do not believe in the use of force. They must wait until we invite them to return to humanity. We won't do that right without reading the instructions left to us in the Torah. So it's up to the people of Zion to learn the prophecy and to fulfill it. Over the past two biblical generations, which is 40 years, the people of Zion have come into being. Until the 1930s, the use of drugs has been minute. Very few people throughout history have used drugs, as the people of Zion do today. Those people were marginalized. Very few laws were needed in regards to drug use. But the Zionites' use of drugs is unique. Traditionally, drugs are uses were medicinal or spiritually oriented. The doctors prescribed drugs to heal. Shamans and occultists used drugs to attain a higher state of consciousness. But very few people use drugs for personal use outside of alcohol or opioids. The opioids, like heroin and opium, are in Asia are the closest that we come. But that drug war, the opioid wars, were trade-based more than health-based. The opium dens were far less prolific than the drug use of today, and opium addicts rarely used other drugs. The biggest difference between the people of Zion and drug users of the past is that we have a society of our own. We are different from every other group of people on the planet. We use drugs for a good time. We are a separate community within the larger population. We have our own form of industry. We have our own moral code of conduct. No other historical population of drug users had a sense of identity as drug users. But because we failed to learn of our identity, we have become more and more like the humans that we live among. We have embraced too much of society's norms, like violence and self gratification. Our lack of knowledge has made us less than we were meant to be or are capable of being. That is why the prohibition became the war on drugs. We let ourselves be victimized by the humans because we rejected the Torah and our Creator who wrote it for us. We didn't know that the Great created us so that we could speak to them on humanity's behalf. So, because of our lack of knowledge, the governments were free to enslave us. But the next two verses condemn the governments for their cruelty. The Grey pledge to repay humans for the wrongs that they have done to the people of Zion. They are accused of letting the cruelty go to their heads and their hearts, condemning their souls. They have become hypocrites. They condemn us for doing the same things that they do. We use drugs. They use drugs. We are priests. They have priests. They punish us for our wrongs, but they do far worse and will also be punished. They will reap what they have sown. What they do to us will be done to them because they're just as guilty as we are. But thanks in large part to them, we've already done our time in hell for all of our sins. We may be like them in way, way too many ways, but we are forgiven. That is when we choose to reject our human ways and become more like the Grey. Our suffering has prepared us for a much better life. We owe our enemies a debt of thanks for the hell because we'll be on our way to heaven, i.e., Zion. Now, so the Grey will punish our enemies for all of their wrongdoings as we enjoy a reversal of fortunes. But they only have themselves to blame. While my people's sin is ignorance, theirs is hypocrisy. They have always had the knowledge of the prophecy, yet they have chosen to do the opposite of what they know to be God's will. So they will suffer for their sins. Which brings us to Isaiah 46, 3 and 4, which is Zion 14:34 and 43 and 44. Hearken unto me, O house of Jacob, and all ye remnants of the house of Israel, which are born of me from the belly, which are carried in the womb. And even to your old age I am he, and even to horsehairs will I carry you. I have made, and I will bear, even I will carry, and I will deliver you. Isaiah 46, 3 and 4 speaks to the joint houses of Jacob, i.e. Zion, and Israel. The new Israel, made up of the biological lineage of Israel, the nation, and all Judaism, Jews, Christians, and Islam. The older houses of Abraham, blooded sons and daughters of Abraham, and the followers of Jesus. Both Zion and Israel are reassured that the Grey are here to keep their centuries-old promises. The Grey part of this the Zion part of this equation incorporates every non-Jewish born descendant of Abraham, which equates to all non-Jewish religions. So all beliefs in a returning God, no matter that God's name, is covered by this promise. And there I'm going to leave off for today because I'm out of time. May the Grey watch over you, guide you, protect you, and keep you from all harm. May they teach you right from wrong, and may you be worthy of them. May your thoughts, words, and deeds reflect truth, good, and light, the unicorn way. Find your joy and pursue it. Make that your life's work. It'll make you happy. Stay happy and high if you use drugs. You have every right and reason to. Just stick with me, you'll see. I love all of you very much. Stay safe. Wear your masks. I'm going to say later now. because I love you way too much to ever say goodbye.